Oh, here we are again now, and it's like no time has passed. Gazing out upon the sunset as it sinks into the night. Many times it seemed as though a given day might be our last. Face to face with certain death, it's somehow coming out alright. I don't think that we have any cause to lament, but there's quite a lot of thrilling intent, thrilling intent, thrilling intent, thrilling intent.
I was looking forward to the withdrawal sweats.
Oh, Harlock. Do you want sedatives?
I'm sure she has sedatives.
Oh, so you're going to give me more drugs to deal with the drugs that you won't let me take?
Okay, look. Sometimes drugs can medicinally counteract certain physical symptoms.
Yes, like sleeping.
That's not a symptom. That's a natural process of the body.
Yeah, so is coughing.
He stops and looks over at he looks over at you, Gregor. I was also hoping to speak to you before you departed.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to be moving very much for a while, so it's a good chance.
Forgive me for a moment. Can I borrow your, he looks at you, looks at the weapon you're carrying, your man-at-arms.
Your glaive, dear.
He means your glaive, I think. Unless you're talking about me, I do have arms.
No, I was talking
I'm
about...
the man-at-arms.
Yes.
That's my arm.
Oh! I misunderstood.
He actually starts to walk forward, Gregor, expecting you to follow.
Here we go.
Wait, Gregor, are you okay to move and to...
Yep, I'm good, and I'm not gonna stop, or I'll lose momentum.
Okay, just say something if you want any of us to come with you.
Mercy puts a hand on Marcus's shoulder. I think he's got this.
I sure hope so. I worry about him.
Oh, stairs.
In fact,
Oh, no.
I know he's got
How about, wait, stay here. We'll go upstairs.
Okay. just disregarding motherly advice. That's fine.
It's
Marcus,
okay. Hey,
Marcus, come back.
Stay here. Don't do the stairs. We will leave and give you privacy. This makes about 1,000% more sense.
He looks over to you, Gregor. You have very caring companions.
Yeah, I like them.
Gregor, we like you. Try and rest up, okay?
Okay.
I assume I shouldn't be here as well, right, dear?
He like, sort of once again, he gets this very gentle smile again. In this case, I believe it might be best for the sake of his privacy. Nothing that I'm about to say is with his permission, it's something that I can, of course, share with you later.
Of course. Well, one for the road.
Y'all want to play a round of cards?
As she goes by, one for the road, gives him another kiss, and then goes up the stairs.
Oh.
Sure, I need to focus to make sure I don't burn them.
Great. Yeah, no, we don't have to play for much money.
Money?
Sure, no, I mean, we can just nickel and dime it. It's whatever.
Harlock kind of moves past a little bit slower and then looks at Gregor and then keeps going.
So.
Why do we have to be secret?
He looks over to you.
We can still hear you since you're right at the bottom of the staircase.
Okay,
Well, we certainly didn't make our way to the kitchen. Come on.
Just lie.
We were in the process.
Just tell lies.
I only ask for a little discretion because it involves your medical history.
Okay.
I was hoping you could describe to me with clarity again that sensation you got when you could, cut things, as you put it.
Oh, right, when I see stuff.
Mm.
Well, if I focus really hard, this is after I got blown up and reformed, by the way. If I focus...
He puts his hand up like a, yes, that's why I asked for a little bit of discretion, and then closes his hand is like, no, go on.
If I focus really hard and, like, squint my eyes and, you know, make my brain go into overdrive, I can kind of see, like, the world, but then there's also the world, but better. That I usually can't see that part.
So, okay, I'm going to ask a few things. When you were exploded and reformed, what age did that happen to you at?
What age?
Yes, how long ago was it?
Little more than a year, I think.
Okay, so it's not development. He kind of rubs his eyes. Okay.
Yeah. Our, friend Narn did it.
Okay. And you had no experiences with sensations like this before your, detonation.
No, not really.
Okay.
I've stared at plenty of stuff before, but this feels different.
And this doesn't have... I'm just running down a list of potential causes. You believe it's tied to this incident specifically, nothing related to your past with the Outriders, nothing related to any earlier incidents, any earlier wounds. He's saying this because, like, Gregor, it's clear enough he saw you with that set of impressive scars that you've got when he came into the kitchen earlier. And while you probably have righted your garb, it's still probably on his mind. Right, okay. So, that sensation, that one that you're feeling is not... It's not an entirely uncommon one. It has to do with a sort of form of altered perception. To a certain extent, it is a sister sensation to what I was describing to your alchemical friend earlier. What you're experiencing is commonly felt by people who have been to battle time and time again, and people who have faced death time and time again. I ask because most commonly the sensation arrives earlier in life. The thought that it might have occurred to you in the last year or two is actually a little surprising to me.
Yeah, I've been battling for a long, long time.
Have you had many brushes with death before?
Lots of them.
Okay. So, what separates... I would love to hear your story in its completeness one day. I can't exactly say what was different about that incident versus any of those that gave you those scars, but at the very least I can do my best to describe what you are experiencing to the best of my ability. So, he gets kind of a half smile, and almost like if Mercy has this very motherly energy, he gets a look almost like a teacher, like a grade school teacher. He almost like a bubbly shining side starts to rise to the surface. How familiar are you with cooking?
I can't say I do much of it.
So, if you're not too familiar, do you often cook by impulse, or do you follow a book of recipes?
I follow what's in my brain.
You follow what's in your brain. So, most people, when they cook, especially when they're starting out, they follow a book of recipes provided to them. I don't know if this is a unique thing to Tannhauser, but we follow the wisdom of what came before. We know that by adding a proper mixture of flour and other delightful things, we can produce bread. What is made from a recipe is, however, not uniform. A recipe once employed can be used to produce a lot of different loaves of bread. Every iteration and every loaf will be different due to the creator, due to factors in the air, due to how it is prepared, but it all stems from a singular uniform recipe. This is one of the basics for alchemy, but it also has to do, to a large degree, with the alchemical perception of what we believe to be fundamental truths, or the true world.
The true world is
Yes.
a recipe.
It's flesh. What we experience, this table, is all iterative. It is all an expression of some fundamental, true existence that takes on imperfections due to the imperfect nature of this world. What you are experiencing, and I believe I risk losing myself perhaps in academic jargon, what you are perceiving for a moment is some sort of fundamental truth. The way the world would be if it could follow that recipe absolutely perfectly.
It's a better world.
You could call it better, but appreciating beauty and imperfection is part of what makes existence itself beautiful. He sort of smiles at you. The real world is tainted with all sorts of chaos. Like I said, we're all iterative. Every loaf of bread exists slightly different than every other loaf of bread. But what you can perceive is that source, that truth that exists behind every loaf of bread, not embracing the chaos of every iteration, but instead the truth that underpins it all. And you said, this is the most worrying part. You said you could cut it.
If this is bread, then I stick my glaive sort of between the recipe and the bread, and if I cut there, they kind of fall apart. They get split apart, and then the slice of bread dies. Or
he stops you. No, it actually makes quite a lot of sense. Actually, he takes a step forward again. You are able to see the way that things should be, and you are able to reject when something is not the way it should be. It's as simple as that. It would be as simple as if, once again, we're sticking with the bread analogy, if someone baked a loaf of bread and it wasn't exactly to the perfect specification as the recipe required, you were able to, with your glaive, say, no, this bread does not function. Take it back.
So, it's like I'm scraping off the burned bits.
Yes, you can, to a certain extent. If you are able to cut through something, you're able to cut through the chaos, the imperfection of something. You're able to sever it from whatever truth is binding it to this world, and that causes it to die. He motions over to the wall. This might help, actually, cutting things that distort truth. Magic exists in this category. A fireball, if you were to conjure it from thin air, is not something that the true world necessarily likes. It's a mass of chaos, and it's a massive distortion. As a result, you should have no trouble cutting that. But, just the same, if you came across a rock in the middle of the woods, and you walked up to it and said, "Rock, you are untruthful. I will banish you from this place," you would likely have just as hard a time cutting it as you would a normal rock.
Huh. Okay. So magic is especially burned crust on the bread.
Exactly. Magic is a bunch of bakers who get excited with the idea of pushing bread to new, lofty ideals. They take parts of the recipe and they twist it and turn it to make the bread do exactly what they want it to do. So, in the case of your friends who are alchemists, alchemy, let me tell you, alchemists actually start making bread because it teaches you the basics of following a recipe. And then it teaches you to break that recipe. It teaches you to go beyond, to make the bread that you want. You, on the other hand, get to be the strict cooking teacher who says, you are not allowed to make a bread that way.
At the very least, you cannot call that bread.
You cannot call that bread anymore. He stops and his teacherly demeanor kind of fades. Was that helpful at all? I hope I could illustrate that correctly. It's It's a rather surreal skill. The oddity in your case is the ability to not only perceive it, but cut it. That, I'm not sure how you're accomplishing that, physically speaking. That's the surreal aspect. However, people have, after one too many brushes with death, been able to perceive similar things in the past. I think it is quite a marvel that you're able to not only see it, but act on it.
Huh. Yeah, I really had no idea how I was doing this all of a sudden. Because, sometimes my glaive just goes through things like butter, like it's not even cutting. But if I'm cutting the metaphorical bread, then the bread that's attached to our world should just follow in being cut.
He puts up a finger and then puts it down. Well, in this case, I believe you are the better teacher than me.
No, you were the one who taught me all the bread stuff.
He smiles and folds his hands. Well, I'm happy that my bread metaphor did its job.
Yeah, now I know how to think about this.
He smiles. It seems the metaphor was useful. Then I feel accomplished tonight.
Thank you.
He smiles.
Now I just have to think of what to call it.
Yes, I have no idea what to call it because, as I said, it's only been registered as a sensory experience before, not an active one. So, whatever you call it, please get back to me. I would love to write a book on it.
Okay, I'm thinking bread brain, but I might change that.
You say that, and the reaction that part of you expects, some part of you, is one of like, no, bread brain, you've been shot down enough with these suggestions before. But he just quietly nods along. Bread brain. Interesting. I'll keep a note of it.
Or maybe bustin' crust.
Oh. Well, as the discoverer of this phenomenon, you are allowed to name it whatever you want. So, choose whatever you wish. Trust me, certain alchemical principles have been named after equivalently silly ideas as bread.
Huh. I guess I'm pioneering alchemy now. Cool.
You are, in a certain extent, yes. You might also be pioneering the way that we perhaps interact with the world.
Huh.
If you could move beyond just cutting, who knows what you could do?
Well, that seems to be the most useful.
Okay.